Good afternoon. Welcome in. How you doing? Gabe DeArmond here, live with you, powermizzou.com on YouTube, coming at you from Augusta, Georgia. And this is an all Georgia show, coming at you from Atlanta, right there, much more sharply dressed, hopefully with a lot more information. Jarod Hamilton, fresh off SEC Media Days in Atlanta. Jarod, you've been asking for like 2 months. When can we get something to actually talk about and report on? So did you get enough? You done? You ready to go back to off time now?
Did I get enough? I got I got something for this week. There's so many. The thing is with this team in particular is literally so many of the questions will be answered during fall camp because a lot of it's just more about the team and which is good. You don't want a team that has so many off the field type of worries and stuff like that. I mean, the biggest thing coming out of this is kind of off the field related. Um, is Drink's thoughts on the house settlement, also CFP expansion. I'll be writing about those this week. So besides that, mostly everything is on the field, and like we've been doing the past couple months, we can only talk so much when there isn't anything going on. So
Yeah, we'll get to some of Drink's comments today, from the expected to the good news to the utterly ridiculous and insane. We'll talk about that shortly. But a couple of over unders. Was the over under of the opening statement? Do you know 15 minutes? Do you know if it was over? It seemed
I,
shorter.
I was writing what I was just talking about, and it's about five. It's about 5 or 6
Okay.
opening statement, and it's mostly questions. Which good for. I will say this: no shortage of jokes from Drink today. Whether it was for the breakout room, on stage, he's always going to keep it entertaining, which I appreciate.
Well, it's funny. So I had a friend that covers another SEC school text me at about right about 9:05, shortly after Drink started in the main room, and he said, "Man, Gabe, there is nobody here for this Drinkwitz thing." And I said, "Well, first of all, they did the local media in a separate room at 8:30, so none of those guys need to go to this." And I said, "Second of all, the national guys and the old boy SEC media, they never think of Missouri. Like, Missouri's not on their radar, and it's actually to their detriment, because I think Eli's the best quote in the SEC. Like, that's the guy you should want to cover at media days. No matter what school he coaches, like, he's actually going to give you something interesting to write about."
Yeah, you just got the worst luck of the draw having day four of the
Yeah.
event, but I mean, it was entertaining. I forgot I had left the media room or where the podium is right when Mark Stoops got up there, and he said something along the lines in his opening statement, like basically we gotta watch out for Drink because Drink, he even said it like I know Greg ain't gonna like what I'm about to say about this expansion and how I feel about it, but here goes basically. So yeah, Drink in SEC media days, he's always gonna say something or do something that's a little funny, but it was cool.
So real quick, speaking of Mark Stoops, and guys, I want to be honest with you. Like, I'm a Peach Jam. I went to the gym this morning. I came back. Like, I haven't really watched SEC media days. I'm reading Jarod stuff like you guys are. So I'm relying heavily on him. But like, I saw something, Mark Stoops. Like, did Drinkwitz make a Jeffrey Epstein comment? Did that happen?
Oh yes, which is also gonna be part of my article. Which makes it funny is so at the end of his openings at the end of his opening statement, he's like, all right, for the 14 of you guys in the media room, I know you're dying to ask me questions. So he's like, I'm not going to answer anything. What do you say about? He said, I'm not going to answer anything about the Epstein files. What was that other word he said? Because I just wrote down it's the
That
Epstein.
would have been a perfect. How perfect would it have been if Drinkwitz would have just been like, "Look, there ain't many of you here, so here's my thoughts on Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein files."
Would have loved it. But he said, okay, I got the quote right here. With that, I know there are a lot of burning questions in this room by the 14 of y'all that showed up. Just as a reminder, I'm not going to answer any questions about the Epstein files, the radiation belt, or whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald could get 3 shots off in 7 seconds. I will answer questions about Mizzou football.
I like it. All right, and I do want to invite you guys, comments, questions, whatever you got, put them in the chat. We got plenty of them. Kyle Counts, appreciate the super chat, man. So we'll start there. If you want to immediately get your comment on the screen, just pay us. Like, dude, we're not complicated. Like, if you give us money, we're going to put your comment on the screen immediately. Kyle says, "Have a drink on me. If the football team makes the playoffs and we get another top recruiting class in basketball, could we be entering the golden era of Mizzou sports?" So here's what I've learned over a lot of years doing this. It's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. So I hesitate to say we're entering the golden era, because as soon as I say that, Jason Crow Jr. will pull a switcheroo on Friday, and somebody will get hurt on the first day of fall camp. So I don't put that voodoo on me, Kyle Counts. That is all you. But again, comments, questions, we welcome them throughout the show. We're going to hang out with you here, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour. Jarod has stuff to do. I've got to go back to the gym at 5 o'clock and watch Jason Crow Jr. play, but we'll figure some things out. All right, so I was just reading through kind of. I want to start with the podium stuff because, and again, like Jarod was in the separate kind of small interview they did with local media. That's where we get the actual stuff. The podium isn't necessarily as meaningful, but here's my favorite thing that came out of the podium appearance by Drinkwitz. Like, he got up there and he said, "I'm tired of hearing hearing coaches just whine all the time," right? And people asked him what he was talking about, and he said it's just everything. Like, what a great opportunity it is to like be able to complain about a profession that you've chosen. And like, that's one thing I've always respected about Drinkwitz. He has had some like just massive change in college football every year since he's been a head coach. And from the get-go, all he's ever said is, "Hey, we can sit here and cry about it, or we can do the best we can." And like, he's a man who has a lot of self-awareness. He gets paid $9 million a year to coach football. Nobody really gives a damn if he wants to, what he wants to cry about. And like, way more guys in his profession should take that approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone, what's the quote you got? I got it right here. Hold on. Someone asked you mentioned during your opening about coaches winding up here. Is that about transfer portal or something else? And he's like, "No, it's not. It wasn't. It's just in general. I just go back to, what a privilege it is to be exhausted by a challenge you choose for yourself. We all choose to coach here." That's a great quote, just generally in life. And I feel like it's not even just Drink today. Now that you bring it up, Connor Tollison, Zion Young, DC, there were some things like they all really seem grateful to be here. Like Drink just said that statement. He always, enjoys SEC media days and just coming here and stuff like that. But like talking to Connor Tollison, and when I asked him about like, it's week 11, you guys are trying to make something happen, and you go down in third quarter versus, Oklahoma. Do you know immediately it's a torn ACL? And he's just like, "Yeah, I knew I was done for," like right there. And then I'm like, "All right, so how long did you feel bad for yourself?" He's like, "Well, I got to the locker room and the trainer's just like, 'Yeah, you probably tore your ACL.'" He's like, "Yeah, I felt that." And that was it. I mean, you basically had it's football. You're bound to get hurt. I mean, and then I asked him about the rehab process. He's like, "I got nothing but time. So that's why I'm here kind of quicker." And so just having awareness of like, it could be all so much worse. And I think that trip to Jamaica, that was a big thing they were talking about throughout the day. Wrote about that a few weeks ago. Like, you can see how that's kind of shaped their perspective on life, as far as just like, yeah, he makes $9 million a year. All these guys are getting NIL money to do something they would do for free. So you can kind of just feel that throughout all the interviews today of just like, this is fun,
My favorite quote from Tollison was, "I didn't have anything else to do except to rehab." So, that's just what I did.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So, all right. So I don't have the quote right in front of me, but I'm going to let you explain it to me. Okay, here, I've got it now. Pat Forty asked, since it's only about 5 years of your time talking about 8 versus 9, what do you think of the 5+11 playoff format? And this is not going to do me any favors with our commissioner. When I think about college football right now and think about what we need to do, I think it comes down to two things. The rest of us are only important because of the players and fans, blah, 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 blah. The NFL takes 44% of their teams in the playoffs. If we're talking about 12, that's 9%. If we're talking about 14, that's 11%. He does a lot of math. Long story short, Eli Drinkwitz goes on to talk about, I think the number he settled on was a 30-team playoff. Like, this is legitimately what you and me were laughing about and saying was so stupid on our live show on Monday night. I can't really believe Drink's actually serious about this, is he?
Yes, and I don't know. I know when I was hearing it, this was something he's saying at the podium. So I was just typing and I looked up and I was just like, 30 teams. It's quite. I sometimes when coaches like Drink are talking, you can just feel that they're talking from like that non-blue blood perspective and kind of not getting the benefit of the doubt sometimes, or feeling like you just got to work harder and stuff like that. And I completely get it. But I just sometimes I'm just thinking, if these guys were on different teams or something, I just don't know if that's the case. Like, I can see why some coaches are like, the more the merrier, because it kind of helps them get in. And then I can also see why the Alabamas of the world and all that stuff is just like, no, we don't need to do this. You actually need to be one of the elite teams to play in this. So he said something along the lines of like 8 play-in games or something like that. And I'm just like, I hear you, but
So Jason Bagley is saying he was talking about the automatic qualifier method and conferences having games. I don't think Eli Drinkwitz wants 30 teams in a college football playoff. Like,
he
again,
wants that to matter at the end of the season too.
Right, which I kind of think we have right now. Right? Like, Missouri went into that South Carolina game with a path to the playoff last year. Now, it was unlikely, but they were like, there were definitely 30 teams alive going into the last 2-3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, which that's still a tough loss when I think about it. I'm not even on thing. I'm just thinking like they had that one, but yeah, I think for the most part, just having the 12 teams, like, it felt like it already gave a lot of room for kind of those teams that have those 2 losses, those 3 losses. If you have the right win, you go on a streak like South Carolina, stuff like that. Like, we're still talking about you, even though it's not likely and you got to get a lot of help. The fact that you can even get help at that point in the season, because it feels like once you lose your O, I mean, in years past, once you lose your O in the L column, unless you're one of those top ones who are going to be able to say, well, I've got, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee left on my schedule, and I've got, and I can win those games, then you're out of it. So, yeah, I suppose.
I don't want to get too into the weeds on this because there's actual things we should talk about. But Jordan says, I interpreted Drink's comment. I think he suggested the top 8 SEC teams play 4 play-in games for a total of 4 spots. So, like, that is along the lines of what I've thought they should do for a long time is go to the 4 power conferences and just, like, the conference title games are basically a play-in to the playoff. The last weekend of the regular season, like, you're playing playoffs in your conference to get into the conference title game, and then the conference title game is a playoff to get into the playoff. And I'm good with all that. But again, I don't mean to be getting too much into the weeds here because you mentioned Connor Tollison, and I think, is it fair to say that was the most noteworthy thing to come out today, is that they said he's going to be good to go for day 1 of fall camp?
Yeah, so I'm hearing fall camp is looking like July 28th, somewhere around there is going to be the start of it. Not completely.
God, that's 11 days away, man.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's when we're going to kick it off. So, yeah, Drink said he's not quite exactly there, and Connor himself said he's about 85%. But I mean, that's another week and a half, so he has a chance to ramp it up and get where they feel comfortable enough to say, we're going to give you everything that you need to do to be the starting center. So good for them. They got their starting center. They got Caden Green. I thought something kind of adjacent to that I thought was noteworthy is left tackle. Caden Green, like they said, Brandon Solis, they said Whit Hafer, along with the normal 4 we've been talking about, Richardson, Williams, Reichert, Jalen Early from Florida State. They added those names in a left tackle thing. They didn't say Caden Green. So that tells me they're sticking firm to they're not going to move him there. And the second I see Caden Green at left tackle at any point, that's how you know something is going wrong. Because if they wanted to, he can pull the, maybe we're going to give a look to Caden Green out there. Like he could have said it and backtracked what they said a couple months ago, and there still would have been enough time for people to be like, well, we thought they was going to kind of do that anyway, and he's had his second chance. And so they're keeping Caden there. They're going to keep Tollison. Another thing, he talked highly of Tristan Wilson. I know a lot of people have been asking about where does he fit in this situation. In a way, he almost sounded like he wanted to name him the right guard starter. It's either him or Dom G, but he was really high on Tristan Wilson and said we basically have 4 starters, but he didn't say specifically because he was being complimentary of both of them. So I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right guard battle is going to come down to Dom G and Tristan Wilson is what it's looking like.
All right. Real quick, did you get clarification on how Dom G pronounces his last name?
Giudice? I've been thinking it was, I don't even remember what I was thinking it was, but I think it's Giudice, maybe. Okay. But we've already come up with the nickname. Never going to call him
right. There's also a chance that Drinkwitz doesn't actually know how it's pronounced, so who knows, right?
Yeah.
Kyle had said that Drinkwitz tweeted to clarify his idea, and so this is 3 minutes ago. Drinkwitz tweeted, and he is Eli Drinkwitz is one of us here, by the way. Unnecessary roughness on X tweeted Eli Drinkwitz proposed a 30-team playoff and then blah, blah, blah. And Drink retweeted it and said, that's not what was proposed or how it was presented. Maybe evaluate the idea before just assuming and making an aggregate headline on Championship Saturday. Each conference have play-in games to the 16-team playoff instead of having a selection committee. That's the idea. Okay, first of all, that's not an idea I hate. Second of all, Eli Drinkwitz is our king for going after the aggregators and the idiots who weren't at SEC Media Day making social media headlines out of it.
Yeah, it's first off, he just retweeted it himself. Like he retweeted it and then he quote tweeted it. So good for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand on it. That's hilarious. Good for Drink.
Yeah, big fan. All right, so I don't know. We talked a lot about the quarterback battle and didn't say anything indicating who the starting quarterback is. The only thing noteworthy about quarterbacks is what you and I had talked about, I think, on Monday night. Like, Sam Horn's going to be on this football team, and he always knew Sam Horn was going to be on this football team.
Yeah, he pretty much said nothing has changed. He said something along the lines of, he asked Sam if he was having a draft day party, and then he said, all right. After he got drafted, he called him, which is like, congrats. And then I think he said something about seeing Sam the next day at 6:30 workouts, like, or 6:30 in the morning workouts. So like,
enjoy this for 6 hours, kid.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Make sure you're in that facility 5 o'clock extra early, actually. Right. So yeah, there's no change, which we expected. Again, that's one of the things of this team is all of its issues or whatever, the things you don't know are got to be determined on the field. So that's not really surprising.
So last kind of question for you, unless and after this, feel free if there's anything that like you feel like is noteworthy that you haven't written about, posted about, or aren't going to write about or post about, feel free to let me know. But like I feel like by this point, this is this will be your 4th season covering Drink, right?
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay, your 4th season covering him, my 5th season, 5th or 6th, I can't remember, I can't count. I think 6th season covering him. I feel like now we can kind of, we're kind of to the point where we can read into his moods a little bit, into what he says and all that. Like, there are times you can tell, like, okay, based on this press conference, like, this is how he feels. It may not be exactly what he's saying, but, like, I think I know kind of what he's saying. Do you get any feel from talking to him what he thinks about this team? Or, I mean, sometimes what he says, you can kind of go, okay, he's a little bit nervous, or okay, he's pretty happy because nobody thinks he's going to be any good, but he's just lying in the weeds here, waiting to see what everybody thinks about it.
No, as Gabe dips on me real quick. Pretty much, very. I'm not gonna say very, but he's pretty confident about that defense. Obviously, the depth this team got in the offseason in the portal, he's happy about it. I wrote a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what story it was, but basically, I said something along the lines of, "Whenever you talk about the edge group, he blushes." I promise somebody talked about the edge group, and he damn near bust again. He just can't get enough when it's talking about the edges. He's really happy with that group in particular. He said there's a bunch of alpha males in there. There's a lot of competition, and that's what I feel like you get when you're talking about, some of these position groups on the team. He's just happy about the competition. And when I say competition, I mean real competition where, even if you have an idea who the starter may be, it's not like necessarily a given. Like he said something along the lines of, I was talking to Zion Young about, how the edges were doing during that kind of that gray period where the coaches can't really, mess with the players and stuff like that. He was like, Zion, how's it going? And Zion tells him basically it's going good. And so he's like, Zion, you're going to give up some playing time? And he's just like, no. But he knows that's a real thing because Zion himself said, Darius Smith, Dame Wilson, like, y'all should expect big things from them. And he even joked that the last time we talked to him, he calls everybody a physical freak athlete. But he's not wrong. He's not lying. So you got that. You got the quarterback battle. This whole time, he's kind of built it up as like a real quarterback battle, not the ones Brady Cook had. Like, I guess I feel like most of us would probably lean Bo is just because of being that transfer and Ion also. You probably lean Bo, but it's not like a 70-30 thing to me. It could be like a 55-45, 60-40 maybe type of thing where Sam definitely has a shot at getting this quarterback job. So I think he just really likes the competition throughout the roster where he's like, well, if we don't got a guy, we're not just going to throw someone out there at X position just because we feel like we got somebody who can move in and do that job.
I got a call from a friend this morning who does some more kind of national and conference wide stuff, and he was just kind of asking me, a couple things about Missouri, and I said, I think they have the best defensive ends in America and maybe the best front ends in this.
He said that
and maybe the best front seven in the SEC. And the person I was talking to was like, "Wait, really?" I don't blame him. I'm not asking him to know Missouri's roster like Eli Drinkwitz does, or even like we do. But like, I think that this season, I think is largely going to be determined by the front seven, and I think they think it's really good.
How could he not? Let me think about a couple positions. I feel like early in the spring, he said something along the lines of, I got 6 or 7 guys who deserve playing time at edge. And then like 1 or 2 left. I know Ja'Kai Lang left and Eddie Kelly, right? So those 2 left. And to be honest, he's not going to say this, but I'm sure he got a relief. Like that was going to be a problem having to play all of these guys. And so the fact that he's doing that with this defense and just positions in general, like he feels good about them, feels good about linebacker. And, you got Trotter. That's obviously the headliner. He was talking a little bit about Tristan Newson and I bet in a way he feels like he's stealing Tristan Newson.
Well, hey, if it's up to Diego Pavia, Tristan Newson's going to play 17 more years for Eli.
He's going to keep spinning it back for sure. So he's
going to be my age starting linebacker for Missouri.
Yeah, he just feels like he's got so much depth and talent on this group. Like he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, and hey, that's a good place to be, certainly. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and invite you guys. We've got some questions. We'll run through the questions that have been posted. If you guys have any other questions, put them in the chat. We'll get them here over the next, 20 minutes or so, however long we are hanging out with you. Scott Fitz says, was watching some coverage and people were knocking Bo for leaving Penn State during their playoff run. How's that on him? So, look, when people say I was watching coverage, that could mean anything, right? Like, you saw a guy with a YouTube channel or you saw ESPN. I don't know specifically what this is referenced in here, but I haven't really seen anybody blame Bo Prabula for the decision he made. I have seen a whole bunch of people say it's a shame that this stupid system put him in the position to have to make this decision. But, when Bo did the interview with Adam Brenneman, and he has said this before, but when he did that podcast last week, he basically said, like, even his teammates at Penn State were like, man, I hope you kill it. Like, nobody has held any ill will toward Bo that I have seen in this at all.
Yeah, this is very much a team sport, but it's all represented by individuals who want to get to the next level, and they understand, opportunity costs sometimes. So, yeah, to play and do what you want to do, unfortunately, it may not be for the school you dreamed of, and so you got to find another avenue. And so, yeah, like you said, his teammates are just like, yeah, go do your thing, because I understand, like, it's the playoff, but to be honest, it's not like he's a starter though. And he's playing at a position where only one guy can play.
Right.
So,
like, ideally, he was not going to take one snap in the college football playoff.
Yeah, like, hopefully, to be honest, and no one's going to say this, and it isn't a thing at Bo as it more than it is just like the QB2, QB3, whatever. We don't want to see you on the field. Not because you're bad, but because we need to see QB1 on the field.
It's why more quarterbacks transfer than any other position, right? It's Connor Bazelak left, Tyler Macon left. Like, quarterbacks leave every year because they know there is no, like you're talking about Zion Young and Damon, like, they can share snaps. Bo Prabula came about as close as anybody to actually sharing snaps. They put in packages for him and stuff like that, but there's no such thing as sharing snaps at quarterback. Like, if your team needs to score, everybody knows who's going on the field.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, people understand it, the system, and how pretty much, I think it's funny how we do all this stuff for like eight months basically to get to the season, and we decide to pack everything in December. And then that's not an original thought. Everybody said, but I'm just thinking about it now. Like, I'm thinking about my schedule. January to like end of February, it's nothing. Got 3 weeks of spring ball, and then it's more nothing for real until now. So there's plenty of time to, move things around and not have situations where you've got the players having to leave, and not be a part of, bowl games, CFP games, and stuff like that.
And look, if James Franklin wasn't mad at Bo, I don't know why anybody else should be mad. And, it did just occur to me. I'd never really thought of this, but thank goodness Drew Aller stayed healthy in the college football playoff. Could you imagine, like, Penn State's second drive or something? Aller gets a concussion and he's out, and then Penn State doesn't have the backup court. Like, this would have been a much bigger story had Drew Aller, for some reason, not been able to play in those two games.
And also, in a way, I thought you was going somewhere else with that. Like, think about if, let's say Drew gets hurt, like, right before the playoffs or like in a practice or something.
Right.
He's already thinking, like, let's just say he's got a high ankle sprain that's going to take him out for weeks, just enough to miss the entire playoff run or whatever. That puts a person like Bo or whoever that QB2 is who's thinking about leaving, like, do I stay? And that stinks.
And wreck next year for these 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, I just want to say, though, high ankle sprains don't keep you out of the playoffs, baby.
Well, not for our boys. Not for our boy, but typically that high ankle sprain. Well, not for Brady Cook either. But you know what I'm saying.
Right. No, I do.
7 weeks or something like that. All right, I wouldn't.
All right. So Scott says Mizzou will be ranked no higher than 12th. A&M will be picked top 4. That's not going to happen, by the way. Auburn will be picked higher than it should, and people will ignore Oklahoma's crazy schedule. So did you end up filling out like the order of finish?
I got to see how much time I got on that because I'm not gonna lie.
So you haven't done it yet?
No, and I feel like they gave me a reminder at some point, but
so here's how I view this league. I think it is probably a consensus in some order that Georgia, Texas, and Alabama are the top 3 teams in this league. Do you agree?
After that, it's a crapshoot.
Well, not completely, because I think it's also a consensus that the 4 worst teams in this league are in some order are Arkansas, Vandy, Mississippi State, and Kentucky.
That's about right.
Now, 4 through 12 could go in any order. And when these things come out tomorrow, I fully expect Missouri to be picked way closer to 12 than to 4. Like, I will be stunned if Missouri is picked higher than 10th in this league.
Yes.
That has more to do with the fact that
no one knows
it's Missouri than it does that I actually think they're going to finish 10th.
Yeah. I promise you'll see tomorrow a lot of decal bias. You will.
Oh, yeah.
I know Ole Miss.
Well, and also because, like, how many people that cover Alabama are credentialed at SEC media? Now, look, Alabama's a good team. I'm not saying that. But, like, you know, so those teams there's more people that cover them and probably going to pick them higher. Like, there are a lot of people that go to media days that don't know anything about 15 of the 16 teams. And that's not actually a bad thing. I'm not qualified to pick the order of these teams either. I don't know a lot about them, but they just default to the team they cover. They're going to pick. And I get it to some degree because I know more about Missouri than I know about most other teams. Like, I would pick Missouri probably 6th, 7th in this league, and I think that's higher than most people will pick.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have them somewhere around that range, about 6. Sounds about right. But obviously, I know the team. Everybody else, I can assure you it's going to, like I said, decal bias because you're just going to go with what you know, what you assume. You know, it's Tennessee. I mean, because, like, for me, like, I wrote in the column earlier this week, like, my question, I know they got the UCLA. They basically traded Nico for the UCLA quarterback. That's how that swap went. But Dylan Sampson, you know, led the league in rushing last year. What are they doing? I mean, I'm sure they got something, but I don't know what they're doing. So
James Pierce was decent last year. You know,
he's
the
back.
Defensive end.
He's back.
No, he went pro. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I saw his name in a bunch of mock drafts. I assumed he went pro.
I don't know, but see,
we're still learning, guys. We're still learning.
That's the problem. We got to vote, and we don't see. I'm not going to see Tennessee if Missouri doesn't play them, and so that's why I hate things like this. And to be honest, you saved them. I got to technically put my vote in by 6. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure I'll get it in, but I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, I was just thinking in my head while you were talking. After those top 3 teams, then here's what I got. I got LSU, A&M, Florida, Ole Miss, Missouri, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Auburn. I don't know what separates those teams from one another. Like, literally, the difference between 11th and 4th in this league is like 3 plays over the course of an entire season. So, I don't know. There's not that big a difference between being picked 11th and 5th, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, the difference is you're decal.
So look, you can bet on everything these days. Jason Franken brings up a good point. Like, what could you have won on an Eli Drinkwitz, Mitch's Jeffrey Epstein, and JFK parlay before SEC Media Days began?
I got to get at least $250 for that, right? Like $250,000. Because why?
Like 250 to 1 odds minimum. Yeah, I like that. Jason brings up a good point. Thought it was interesting. Drink said people pushing for 8 SEC games were doing it for coaching stability reasons. So, like, here's another thing I've always respected about Drink. He's always wanted 9 SEC games. Like, I remember when the idea was first brought up, like, people acted shocked that Missouri was one of the schools that was pushing for 9 because they're like, oh, that'll add another loss to Missouri. Like, I'm not going to say Drink is like the most selfless human being on the planet or anything. We all have our self-interest at heart to some degree. But, like, he actually does tend to think about what's good for the game as much as he thinks just what's good for me. And, like, I like his thoughts that, hey, this is for the fans. Like, 9 SEC games is more fun for fans. I don't want to see Alabama, Mercer, and South Carolina versus the Citadel on the second weekend in November. That entertains me for not 1 second. But he's 100% right. I mean, the coaches that are pushing for this, there's two groups of coaches that really want to stay at SEC games, 8 SEC games. Number one is the ones that are in the running for the national title, right? And number two is the group that's fighting their ass off every year to get to 6 wins and play in a Birmingham Bowl and get a $50,000 bonus and tell their AD they can't fire them because they just qualified for their 5th bowl game in 6 years, even if none of them were actually any better than the Tax Slayer Bowl or whatever. So I 100% agree with Drink on all that.
Yeah, like you said, I kind of just appreciate his like self-awareness as far as just like knowing. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, the way I'd be thinking about it is like, and Tyler Collins puts it out here like always the redheaded stepchild in SEC. Like, what do you have to lose? I mean, really, it's only more to gain in this instance. You like, instead of thinking about losing that game, can be another one to win to help a team that people are not thinking up there as far as that higher, echelon of teams can like put you over the top or something like that. So why not? And also another thing is if the SEC, because until it's blue in the face, wants to say it's it's bigger, better, badder, and all that stuff. Like, why are you afraid to face each other again? Like one extra game. Why do you guys, like you said, Alabama facing Mercer and all these colleges in the middle of nowhere to pad these stats if y'all are the big bad SEC, Why not play that extra?
No question. Totally agree. P. Richards with the compliment towards you, Jarod. I agree, man. Sharp dressing, especially for just having flown through Atlanta yesterday and having to buy your ticket because I apparently just decided if I booked you a return ticket from Atlanta, that would magically somehow get you there.
I don't hate that you tried it that way. One day we'll get it right.
We'll get there eventually. Okay, Jay Greason was the one questioning Bo's leadership and team first mentality. All right, pop quiz, Jarod. Any idea who that is?
Jay Gleason or Greason?
I don't know who either one of them is, so I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
No disrespect. I'm sure Jay does a great job.
No, I'm not. I don't know why my first thought was the Alabama quarterback in like the early 90s. Is that Jay Barker or something? What am I thinking of?
There was a Jay Barker. Yeah, Jay Cutler.
Not Cutler.
we could just think of famous Jays for the rest of the show.
Well, Jay-Z, of course, but I don't think he fits here.
Jay Williams, does that count? Even though he's a Jason.
I'll take it.
Let's see. All right, Brock has sleeper guys for this year. He's got Nate Johnson and Marquise Davis.
I like those. Sleeper. It's hard to. Those are two really good picks. I gotta come back to that. Hold on. You got any while I'm thinking real quick?
I'm trying to think. I've mentioned Marquise Davis kind of as one of mine before. I think he'll be better. And like, you can't really call a starter a sleeper, but I wrote about this on Monday. I just think Toriano Pride has a better year than people think he's going to have. I don't really have any basis for saying that. But.
Just off the strength. I get it. Let me get Nick Rodriguez in there. Drink said he had the best.
Like, I think Missouri fans expect him to be good, but I think outside Missouri fans, they probably don't know who he is.
That's fine. That's exactly why it's a sleeper.
Right.
I mean, you guys know. And I don't think that means he's going to be starting or nothing, but just maybe a real impactful guy that comes off the bench that you feel comfortable with, if he has to play more snaps or something like that. It could be him. It could be someone like Khalil Jacobs. Another one, just off of what Drink said earlier, Stephen Hall. He said no one in the cornerback room has been working harder than him. So that's, for what it's worth, that's a good indication. I mean, I'm just going to say Stephen Hall just off that one comment.
There you go. We got 2.5 more questions, and we're going to wrap it up. I can't find it in the chat, but somebody asked earlier if there were any other injuries brought up besides Tollison. Did Drink say anything about like, hey, this guy, had both his legs amputated in the offseason or anything?
No, he didn't. He didn't say anything like that. But to be honest, with another 10, 11 days until camp, that's really going to buy him time because I wouldn't be surprised if there is a couple, and that's when we're going to find
That he
out.
just doesn't have to tell us about because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, when he knows we're going to have to see it, he'll reveal it. Like again, Connor would not have been here if Connor was not ready.
Right.
We wouldn't have known about it or known too much about it until he really needs to tell us. So
Yeah. All right, Jarod, how many Tigers make your all SEC teams? I think they go 2 teams deep. I think they do go 2 teams deep. You only actually get to vote for one team. Everybody votes for one team, and then they take the top, however many vote getters. Again, I don't know if you're filling out a ballot. If you did, how many Missouri players would you list on it? Because I think there's only going to be one that's going to be first team all SEC.
And that's Caden.
Yeah, preseason, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Caden.
I could see Dalen and Chris McClellan being second team guys.
That's what I'm thinking. I was trying to see if I can figure out more, to be honest. If there's anyone like on a hype train who can get enough, like the thing about someone like Dame Wilson, he's never had as much playing time at Georgia, but people know he's a former 5-star. They know he's a 5-star transfer coming in.
Yeah,
so people
know.
But
at that position, I feel like there's enough guys.
Yeah, you're right. So Caden, somebody put in Kevin Coleman. That's a good one. That's an obvious one. Third teamer last year on the postseason list. So Coleman, Green, and then what did you say? You just said 2. I'm blanking right now.
Carnell and McClellan.
Yeah. Catalan, possibly. I see P. Richards put that in there. He could third team All-American this past season. I just don't know what safety looks like in the league generally. So I don't know, but he could, yeah. So that's a good 5. Or 5?
5 that at least in the conversation. I doubt all 5 of them make it. Yeah, but at least in the conversation. Freeway Jarod contributing to your Uno fund. I don't know how many hands of Uno $5 will buy, but that's how many you guys got. So
Gabe, I can make that shake now. Now all we need is for you to put in the rest of the couple thousand to get us there, and we'll bring it back.
We've had this conversation. I pay you every month, man.
Oh man,
maybe not enough, but that's a different conversation we don't need to have on YouTube. So
it's all good. I back to the all SEC things again. I know it's a decal thing, but 5 Tigers on the list, Missouri Tigers. That just seems like, even if someone had that, they'd be like, actually, that can't be right. That can't be
right. Well, and I find it funny, like Missouri's going to be picked probably 11th or 12th in the preseason, and then in the postseason, awards, they'll have 3 guys on the All SEC team, and yet somehow Eli Drinkwitz doesn't win Coach of the Year when he wins 10 football games. Like, if you have no talent and you overachieve, that's Coach of the Year to me.
He should be, but then he just won it
in the conversation.
He won it in 23, right? So
I think he did, yeah.
So I feel like they're going to be like, that's too close. He can't win it twice in such a short span. Not when Kalen and Kirby kind of have to rebound from their usual excellence.
Yeah. Right.
That's an easy.
Kalen DeBoer has to rebound from 9-3.
Well, considering the school he's at, I mean, it seems like you better go 11-1 and make that title game, or else.
Yeah, fair. All right. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. Give the people a sneak peek of what you got coming the rest of the day or rest of the weekend, whatever, from Atlanta, and we'll let you run, man.
Yeah, we got a good bit out today. I'm glad they went early as they did, because I thought today was going to be so much worse. We're actually in a good spot, so I'm happy. Tomorrow's story, we're just talking about drinking the CFP expansion. I'm glad he put out that tweet, just for clarity's sake for everyone. But his thoughts on expansion or playing or whatever he said, I got to look back over it again. And then his thoughts on the house settlement, I thought it was a really good nugget, and I put this in my takeaway video earlier. He said, I'm going to paraphrase it. Basically, freshmen think they have a certain value, when they start talking to these teams or, recruits, that are about to be freshmen. They have this certain perception of what they think they should get and things like that. And he basically said that this is not that no more. So if you're not going to start day one and you still thinking you about to get X amount of dollars, like wasn't it the kid from Texas Tech who just got some crazy deal?
1.7 a year. Yep.
Yeah, you better be starting. You better be
Right.
starting is basically what he's saying. So if you're not doing that, we'll basically be like, oh, if we can't agree, I guess we'll see you in the portal. He didn't say that part, but I know he's thinking that. We'll see you later. So I thought that was pretty good. As far as he just said they have to find like the right formula for balancing retention, retaining your own players, going in the transfer portal, and then recruiting, kind of how you want to use that budget and which route it is for them. We've talked about this before. This is a transfer portal team, it seems like the last few years. A lot of their starters and good depth players come from the portal, and they're comfortable with that. And even Bo kind of talked about that in his interview last week with Adam, as far as just like he was just surprised at how quick Drink is able to get these players to build that cohesion and assimilate together so soon. And it's because he's been doing it for years. So that's going to be, kind of what we're talking about tomorrow and tomorrow's story.
All right. Well, appreciate you, man. Travel home safe, and we'll see you down the road.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. That's Jarod Hamilton coming to you from Atlanta, SEC Media Days. Like I said, 2-3 videos up, couple stories out already. He's going to have more coming, so pay attention to that. I'm headed back to the gym here in Augusta in a couple hours. Going to watch Jason Crow and the Oakland Soldiers. They play at 5 and 9:30 tonight. They play Brad Beal at 5. They play Mocan at 9:30. Be honest, I'm hoping I can just get away with going to the 5 o'clock game, maybe talking to Jason real quick after that, and not have to go back at 9:30 tonight, because tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 your guys' time, Jason Crow Jr. going to announce his commitment over at the Marriott here in Augusta. I will be there, full coverage of that. If things go the way everybody thinks they're going right now, Drew King and I will be back here live with you guys, 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow night. So thanks for hanging out. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tons of stuff at Power Mizzou, guys. We're the only ones that are both here on the road with basketball and on the road with football. We're covering everything for you. This is the time of year your subscription's worthwhile. If you don't yet subscribe, 30% off. If you do, go catch up on everything you might have missed. Appreciate you hanging out. Talk to you next time.